Once you know it, get ready to start writing 23 and then crossing it out every time you write the date on a piece of paper. It's the new year. It is, by the time you're seeing this, it's January 1st. So, I, I don't know. For me, I don't necessarily care in a way, because it's just kind of, and I'm not talking about like all of life. I'm really just talking about lifting. I think that's a given, you know. So in my mind, I'm really not thinking, okay, 2024, I'm gonna kick it up a gear. I'm gonna shift it into seventh. I'm shifting into seventh this year. I don't know, not really, man. I think I just have a little bit of a disconnect from the passage of time in a way when it comes to lifting, because I kind of feel like I'm, pushing it pretty hard. So I don't really care when it is. I don't care. Christmas, birthday. The only thing that's going to keep me out of the gym is natural disaster or sickness, the likes of which, you know, hits me hard. I guess sometimes scheduling, but that's pretty much it. So let's uh, let's just kind of break down some things to be considered. A whole year has passed. One entire year has just passed, right? And as Mr. Scrooge would say, are you even a penny richer? You know, if you look at, let's say, in a lifting progress style standpoint, look at yourself in the beginning of this year compared to right now. Are you any different? And that you don't have to look completely different either. I'm not just talking about lifting. I guess I'm sort of going against what I was just saying a second ago, but um, are you the same dude? Are you the same guy that you were in the beginning of the year? I don't know. It depends on how old you are, right? The older you get, the more likely that that's going to be true, and the more difficult it is to kind of change as a person in a way. The older you get, I think it's you got up until 25, at least that's the last number I heard. I'm sure all the chemicals in the water and xeno whatever else are messing with our brain development. But let's say you got till your mid 20s, your brain is pretty plastic, so you have a very high capability to change your perception of what's going on. And I mean, maybe make it seem a little bit easier to actually start slash stick to something. Right? Getting a little rambly here, but let me try to consolidate my thoughts. Right? Another year has passed. Are you the same dude? I mean, people go on. Oh, I love this quote. You know, a dude can live until 75, but he dies at 30. AKA, he's just living the same year over and over again. And if you kind of zoom that in onto a day by day level, then do you think you've been doing the exact same thing day after day after day for this past year? You know, and that's not necessarily only considering what you actually do. Like obviously I've done the same thing every day for the last year. Woke up, ate my food, lifted, came back, ate some more food, and went back to bed. I guess there's some school in there too, but whatever. Right? So even though it's the same thing every day, it's still working towards, progressing. Right? Now, the only thing I really care about progressing in is mainly bodybuilding. Right? Of course, I want to make sure I get a good head on my shoulders too, and I've got nice, solid control and understanding of my emotions, so I can, be a good dude. But apart from that, I mean, my main thing, which I'm practicing, is the gym. That's my thing. So I'm just gonna keep hitting it. I'm trying to build up to like a phrase, which could be kind of motivational, but I can't really think of anything. So, just as a last final thought, maybe on the car talk back, I'll be a bit more insightful. But try to make sure that this year you at least turn into a different dude. you at least change something up, right? Because it's just so unfortunate to see plateauedness, and not just lifting, not just muscle growth, just life. You know, I'm not fucking old, but I've been out of high school for a couple of years. Right? I know that, especially if you're older than me, if you're up 30s, 40s, whatever, you know of dudes who you were buddies with. You started off in the same place, and then you hear about them later, and they're it's just nothing. They just kind of disappear. Not that you have to do anything grandiose to have a cool experience life-wise, but you got to do something, man. Right? If years and years pass and you're just the same dude, then you're not really living in a way. I kind of feel like you're just being pushed through life. So, but, man, whatever. That was I had a couple of cool thoughts floating around, but I can't express them super well for whatever reason. So let's just talk about what the lift is going to be. Arms, arms. That's it. Tries, buys. I might sneak some forearms in, maybe not. Whatever. Whatever. We'll see. But tries are just going to be the same as normal. Extensions. There's a dip machine here I like. And, I mean, that's really it. You got push downs with all sorts of different handles. Straight bar, W bar, kind of a V bar, which I don't really love, but sometimes I throw it in. Rope, single hand with a D handle, backwards, overhand. You got all sorts of stuff at your disposal. Though, it's all the same thing in its most basic sense. Just taking your arm from a bent position to a straight one, squeezing pretty hard, and then doing it again. So in that sense, I'm not super picky, or I'm not insanely focused on making sure I do a crazy amount of different styles of pushdowns for each workout. I'll have days where I do straight bar pushdowns, and I'm like, okay, this feels really good. I'm just going to stay here for the whole time. And then I do like 8 sets of just straight bar pushdowns on the cable stack. I don't have to move at all. Crazy pump, and then I just move on to buys. So even though there are a crazy amount of ways to hit all your freaking muscles, and in some ways you do need to hit them differently, right? Chest, obviously a pressing movement is going to be a much different stimulus than like a flying based stretch movement. But in its basic gist, or in its most simple, whatever, right? All you're doing is flexing and stretching. So whatever you got to do that feels good, bust it out. Once I move on to buys and I do a set of maybe alternating dumbbell curls or whatever, if I do one set and then I'm like, I don't like this at all, racket, I'll just move on to something else I do like, or something else that I might like. If I move on and do a set of concentration curls and I say I don't like this either, I'll just do that one set. I'll still make sure I go hard on it, just because I wouldn't want to do half a set and then stop and move on. That just seems a little bit silly to me. But I'll do the one, move on, pick something else, and if it doesn't feel that good, I'll just repeat the process. So I guess hypothetically, if I'm just totally out of the zone bicep-wise, then I would just do maybe 6 or 7 different movements. And if I'm like, none of these are really hitting too hard today, it's still 7 good sets. Buys just didn't necessarily want to perform that day, right? And sometimes that'll happen. I mean, even with pretty good preparation, which does kind of reduce the likelihood of this happening, but even if I'm well rested, well hydrated, and well fed, sometimes for just whatever random reason, some of the lifts just I don't feel as crazy of a contraction on as other days. So no reason to get discouraged. It's just kind of something you got to accept. Every day you take your surfboard out on the coast, it's not going to be a fucking, oh man, I was trying to think of the name of like a crazy wave, whatever. It's not going to be a fucking crazy barrel every time, but you get in there, hit a little something, you still leave having some good experience done. So, not sure why I brought up a surfing analogy. The only time I ever got on a surfboard was when I was like 12, and the thing was twice as tall as I was. But enough of that. We're getting real rambly here. This is My brain's getting just boggling around, I guess. But let's jump to that first working set and then fast forward to the pump and come back. I am 99.8% sure I'm going to stop at Wendy's on the way back too. So let's just get in there. I guess good for the gym, not so good for me. Usually I can take a pin from a different machine and use it as like a little attachment to add more weight. But all these pins on every machine are still attached with a little elastic doohickey. So I would have liked to do just straight bar pushdowns with like 2 plates on the side. But since I don't have access to something to throw that much weight on, I'll just do a single-sided movement. So single arm, a little more than half the stack. Really just want a lot of tension and work. I'm not focusing. I mean, obviously I'm still trying to get a squeeze, but I'm really focusing on moving the weight around first. Yeah. 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 Okay. And one more. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's move on to some overhead dumbbell. I haven't done that for like 2 arm days. Been missing out. All right, I lied. I did a feel-it rep overhead. Felt just, it just felt kind of funky. So instead, move over here, do some machine dips. And with these, I've changed up my style. I used to be much more brutish with them. Like I just kind of bust out rep after rep and kind of burn out. But I've been liking legit range of motion. And what I'm talking about is like every rep, really fully extend my arms. And honestly, when I get to the bottom, I'm trying to hyperextend them. Like I'm trying to flex my triceps so hard at the bottom that I want to pull my arm backwards. Obviously, I don't really want to, but you get what I'm saying. So I think a couple here will be good. Okay. One more. Okay. Let's make a drop set. No. Okay. Okay. Whew. think that's just some normal straight bar pushdowns next. I'm fatigued enough that the stack should be a good weight. I've had jankier setups than this. Honestly, I think this is pretty good. When I add plates to the side of the stack, sometimes it kind of fucks with it because the plates are like, they're causing a torque on the weight stack, and it'll make the stack kind of grind up against these sort of stabilizing bars. But since the weight is like, perfectly balanced, this is sweet. And I did do a feeler pull. This ain't snapping. And if it does, I'm gonna have a bad time. But I really don't think it will. So heavy, controlled, really good burn. You get the idea. I'll take a second. A little rest pause. Okay. Yeah. Let's camp out here for a while. I like this a lot. Okay. All right. I think one more. Okay. Let's just finish with a lighter squeezing set and then move on to buys. Okay, so that was a lot of really good work with those heavy sets, but now just kind of to finish it off and just kind of to get a different stimulus. Because when I do those heavy sets, like, it's a good fatigue, but it's kind of, I almost want to say blunt, where, oh my goodness. Whereas when I do a lighter set and I really seriously squeeze hard at the bottom, it's much more of a, well, let's just call it a sharper pain. But I think 5 reps in the right arm, 5 in the left, back and forth until I'm done. Then we can start curls. Okay, last one. Okay. All right. Tries are fully fucking pumped. And honestly, those rest pause sets, I thought those really fucking killed me. So let's just move on to dumbbell curls. Start off nice and simple. I've been going a little bit lighter on dumbbell curls just because I want to actually be able to really squeeze it. But I do like going as heavy as possible too. This is kind of a little bit of a middle ground. But of course, I'm going to go until I can't move. That's the goal. Okay, it's good. Oh. Oh. One more. Oh my god. That's enough dumbbell. It's technically Sunday. I'm in the mood for some preachers. All right, so there is a preacher machine, like plate loaded, but it's just not really my style. I don't know, something about it, the movement path or whatever, just feels a little bit funky. So after 1 or 2 feeler reps there, I'm just gonna move on to something I know I will like, some seated concentration curls. Now I'm going as heavy as I can go, but I want to actually, be able to do good reps. So 45 after doing those heavy curls is not enough weight. No. It's light enough that I can really squeeze for at least 5, 6 good, really good reps, but heavy enough that, I'll be able to actually burn out with partials and actually hit failure. Because if I sat here with the 20s, I could squeeze it super hard, but I'd be sitting here for like a million reps. That's stupid. So there's a range of weight where it's not too heavy, not too light, and it's heavy enough that you're actually pushing yourself. You should be within that range as frequently as possible. That felt okay. I think I want to move on to something else. So I'm gonna take a few minutes and scout around. So those preachers were cool, or those concentration curls were cool, but this machine's gonna feel a lot better. I'm not gonna say that with 100% certainty, but I'm pretty sure. So, good song, throw the shit around. Okay. One more, a little lighter. Okay. Let's go back to dumbbell. All right, now finisher. Let me grab my straps. But 45-pound curls to failure, or at least as close as I can get, and then we can check this pump. I wish I brought a measuring tape, but I don't need to know the exact number to know that it's pretty good. Okay. All right. Holy fuck. Let's pose down. All right, exposure down to a comfortably freaky level. Let's see how we're looking arm-wise. I think I'm gonna get another lens for this camera because this one only zooms in so far. And honestly, I wouldn't mind standing like another 10 feet backwards for a little better lighting. But then I'm gonna be, not really in the frame. But let's just see how we're looking after that really good tricep day. Biceps was okay. Bis was, I'd call it all right. But let's run through a couple classics and then get in the car, grab some food, and go chill. So, what do we think? Oh, triceps for sure. Oh man. Something about those heavy pushdowns with the extra dumbbells, that must have been the perfect amount of weight. And I really like doing those rest pause sets too. I'm gonna add that in for sure. So, you do your normal set, pretty much right at failure. Then instead of just stopping, take 20-ish seconds, whatever, then hit it again. But no point talking about the real technicalities of it. Let's just freaking see how we're looking. I've most certainly seen worse. Oh. Dude, I love a fucking lat spread with an arm pump. Just because, well, just fucking guys. Who doesn't want to look bigger than they normally are floating around? Decent side try. So getting into shoulders, this is what I'm talking about. Like, see how the back of my shoulder, the rear delt, is actually sort of poking out on its own? Like it's got its own roundness to it. That is what you want to be developing. So if your front delts are overpowered, which I can almost guarantee they are, every pressing movement you do is going to be activating them, right? Then you got to maybe chill out in the shoulder press and start spamming the, reverse pec deck and build some mass up here. Because that's what's really going to give you some cool fucking roundness into your, side try, just lat spread everything. It's fucking sick. So let's get a couple more from the back. Oh my goodness. All right, what else is there? All right, the exposure might be down a little too low, but that's the end of it. Bis was a little bit lower on the volume, but tris was good. And honestly, I'm not too dissatisfied that tris was the better portion of today's arm day, because for me, my triceps are slacking a little bit. When they're pumped up, they look pretty cool, but in like a double bi shot here, when they're pumped, right? Like this part of it that's hanging under the arm, that's like an arch. That's fucking sweet. But unpumped, I think they leave a little bit to be desired, which is a call to action for me to say, all right, I better hit fucking triceps into overdrive. So that's enough of that. I'm gonna, don't tell the people around me, but I'm gonna go blow up the bathroom and then I'm gonna get out of here. Okay, I think my mic is near dead. So I might have to switch to the built-in camera halfway through, which not as good, but who cares? Will it affect the pump? No, it will not. So I think I've got a little bit of a better speech than what I was saying on the way here. I don't know what I was thinking. I kind of woke up straight from a nap and then jumped into the car. But how about that? Let's just discuss the lift first. So, tris, man, I fucking killed triceps today. That was sweet. Whew. Honestly, I mean, I've really changed up my style when it comes to my straight bar or like, W bar push downs, because I used to do much lower range of motion. Like I used to kind of just bounce around that, bottom part of the rep, I'd still straighten out my arms, but I'd really just be like down here doing like kind of reps like that. And I mean, my triceps did develop, so it's not like it didn't work. It's not like I didn't do anything, but I think I'm seeing much better results biasing movements, or at least making sure that my form is such that I get a really good stretch on the top. Like with those W bar pushdowns with the rest pause sets, I really like the feeling of almost completely relaxing my triceps at the top of the rep and just letting the weight stretch them out before, flexing them again and tensing at the bottom. And then biceps was chill. Biceps it was just okay today. Kind of like what I was saying in the car. I did the sets, got pumped, but it wasn't really an insane bicep workout. There wasn't, the X factor must not have been there for whatever reason. But still, good pump. We freaking saw it at the end of it. What else is there to it? So now I just got to go home and replenish all the glycogen I burned off and some, such that I can actually, put weight onto my frame. Because that's the whole premise of weight gain, is eating in a surplus. If I were to go home and just eat as much energy as I needed to, refuel for that day, then I'm not going to say I won't develop muscle slowly over time, main gaining style, but it's just not really what I'm into at the moment. As of now, I like bulking hard, and I like, cutting kind of hard too. And not because I think that's the best method all around. It's just what I like doing at this current moment. I could see maybe main gaining in the future once I'm at an amount of mass that I like, and I just want to stay kind of leaner year round, right? Make some slow-ish progress. Because there is a point where I won't necessarily be developing size. Like there will be a point where size-wise, I'm like, all right, this is nice. This is where I want to stay at. But lifting continually after that point is not pointless, because I'll still end up being, working towards developing my muscle maturity, aka striations, density, all sorts of stuff. But that's kind of far in the future. For now, we gotta actually pack some mass onto this frame before it gets perfectly sculpted. But getting back to some New Year's hype, some, talking about doers instead of don'ters. There's a lot of different ways to look at the world, right? From the perspective of like a dude's internal thoughts. And to an extent, I feel like one sort of perspective which I can get behind pretty well is that everything that everybody does is just an accumulation and kind of a balancing out of wants, right? Everybody wants some cheddar, so they go to work. You don't want to be homeless. You know what I'm saying? That might not be the best. Let me keep describing it. Nobody necessarily wants to do their homework, right? So that's negative motivation to do it. But you don't want to fail your class either. That's positive motivation, and then you end up doing it, right? So it's just kind of a balancing act. Getting into an example that actually will probably make more sense for me to describe. Everybody wants to look like they lift. Who doesn't want to be leaner, more muscular, just fit, right? But do people actually want to go to the gym on a consistent basis? No. So for the most part, that want to just chill at home is stronger than the desire to actually, go into the gym and work out. Which, it's kind of like you just have to, some sort of situation just has to push you over the edge to actually get you started, because there are at least nobody that I talk to who actually likes the gym. There's nobody that every day they go in and they're like, oh, this is the fucking worst. I hate lifting. I hate it. It's like once you start and you kind of understand all the benefits all around to it, then you sort of see that it's just a positive cycle, right? Who doesn't want to get into something where it ends up being an upward spiral? Somebody in the gym today was asking me, what's my discipline? What's my motivation? What keeps me going to the gym even on days where maybe I feel like total shit and I don't want to. And I was kind of telling him I'm a little bit spoiled because even in the early days of lifting, probably for whatever subconscious reason of like, I don't know, maybe some kind of insecurity in my mind, it's nothing really comes to, there's no specific thing, right? For whatever reason, I'm just kind of wired where I like lifting weights. I like the feeling of the pump. I like making progress, bodybuilding wise, muscle growth wise. I like throwing around a lot of weight. It's cool walking around just being a big dude. It's just all positives for me. So why wouldn't I do it? You know what I'm saying? Right? That's like asking somebody why they would get into a freaking hot tub. Well, I like it. It feels good. Huh, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I think in that sense, maybe I'm just, I don't know, wired in a different way. But I say that's a good thing. So if that's you, if you feel like you're not necessarily, well, anybody that thinks that they can go into the gym on a consistent basis for just whatever reason, they got to rewire their brain, man. So basic premise, what I'm really trying to get at, this is just as rambly as the first talk, whatever. If you want it, then you can get it, right? If you want it, you can get it. And you have to believe that with certainty. If you drop something, or let's say you put a cup of fucking milk on the side of the table, what's going to happen when you push it off, right? It's going to fucking fall, spill over, probably break. But you know for a fact, 100% that that's going to happen, right? So it gets a little funkier. I mean, we're getting into like manifestation, freaking whatever, cool ideas. This isn't necessarily stuff I think about all the time. But if you can see yourself in the future going into the gym as though it's a guarantee, as though it's just as necessary as you just waking up, breathing, and getting some food in your system, right? If you can just see that as a normal part of your routine, then it's not a challenge. So whatever, take with that what you will. I'm getting real rambly because it's fun saying motivational stuff. Sometimes I think a lot of these quotes are a little bit cheesy, but when I say this stuff, I don't know, it's kind of like, it's like I can't really relate to the feeling of not wanting to go into the gym. Apart from like one-offs where maybe I was really tired that day, or if I don't know, if I was sick, whatever. Like stuff I was talking about earlier, which would keep me out of the gym. Apart from situations like that, I want to go to the gym. So it's almost kind of foreign to me to think, like, I don't know, I just don't get it. So that's, like I was saying earlier, I think I'm just spoiled in that way, that I'm just crazy enough to be wired to do this shit all the time. So I think that's all I got. Good leg day? No. Good arm day. Now I just gotta go home, have what I presume the post-workout meal is gonna be is at least 3 sour cream donuts, a big ass turkey sandwich, the rest of a Bolt House strawberry banana shake, as well as I don't know, as well as all sorts of other stuff. So lots of carbs, bit of fats, some relatively good sources of protein. The deli meat, a little questionable, but whatever. I still like it. And then I get to get a reasonably good night's rest, at least as good as I can try to get before I fly back home tomorrow morning for leg day, which I think I'm going to be a little bit compromised just because I'm going to be freaking tired after getting home. But will that stop me? Is that going to freaking stop me? No. Not even a little bit. The thought of it is amusing. Come on, get real. So, maybe not the best New Year's motivational speech that you've heard. I'm sure there's some cooler ones out there, but there's nothing glitzy about it. And it doesn't take that long either. You know, a little longer if you do your cardio, but let's not make this a cardio rant. I don't want to start this year off on the wrong foot with you by upsetting you. But 1 hour a day, come on. Come on, man. But whatever. If you want it, you'll get it. I believe that wholeheartedly. So I think that's enough of this little ramble. Good lift, getting some good food in my system, and I'm going to get some good rest later. That's a perfect scenario. So I will see you tomorrow for legs, the likes of which may or may not include squats. To be determined. But yeah, I'll see you next time.